Thanks.
All right, everyone. We are going to begin our panel discussion in a few minutes here. I'll just give you a couple seconds to get settled. We'll pause for a second while Dawn gets our sound. Do you think that's the issue? I'll project for the people in the front. Yep. All right, I think we have everyone here. Our sound is good.
Yeah.
We can hear each other, so we'll get started. I'll introduce myself. My name's Natalie King. I'll be moderating this discussion today about our lives in the church. We're gathered here for Rooted in Jesus, and this panel will be focusing on how those of us in various ministries or activities in the Episcopal Church and the Diocese of Utah find meaning. We live in a time, I think, where the role of the church is in question culturally or even politically, socially, and I hope that this will be an informative discussion for those who are still looking for their place in our diocese in this church, and we'll hear from our panelists on how we find meaning in our various roles here in this diocese. So for our panelists, and we'll give Dawn a second again to check our audio. If you could briefly just introduce yourself with your name, where in Utah you are coming from today, and what it is that you do in the church, and we'll just try to keep it pretty brief so that we can move into a discussion as we go along. Let's start with John.
Okay. Hi, I'm John Rodent. I am a member of the vestry here at the church, and I live in Denver, but my family lives in Park City, so I kind of split my time in both places. That is.
What do you, so you're on the vestry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Olivia DePaul, and I live in Park City, and I'm part of the youth community here at the church, and yeah.
Great. My name is John DePaul. I am the proud father of this young lady to my right. I'm a vestry member here at St. Luke's. We're here full time, and I also volunteer for the diocese downtown, and happy to participate.
My name is Don Wood. I am the head of the audiovisual ministry for St. Luke's here. I'm also a member of the Diocesan Council. And if any of you don't know what that is, see me after and I'll let you know.
And I guess I should contribute the information I asked for myself. I'm from St. Mary's in Provo. I'm on our bishop's committee, and I am a lay worship leader at our congregation. So we'll just start again with you, John. If you could tell us a little bit about how you first found your way to either, you can speak about this church specifically at St. Luke's or the church as a whole.
Yeah, so my journey with the church has been lifelong. I was baptized as an infant in a church in Richmond, New Jersey, within the Episcopal Church, and confirmed in the Diocese of Newark. And we found our way here to Park City because I have a twin sister who went through some emotional issues with struggling with addiction and other kind of psychological issues that brought her to a residential treatment center in Spanish Fork. And so our family spent a lot of time skiing and hanging out, carousing in Park City because of that. And we just, over the years, fallen in love with the place and also with the church that we now call home.
What about yourself, Olivia?
I grew up Catholic, and we used to live in Pennsylvania, so we had gone to church, and we took a break for a little bit, and then we did join an Episcopal church down in Pennsylvania, and then once we moved to Utah about two years ago, we started going here, and then I just kind of found my way through my dad, to be honest, because I used to kind of not love going to church, but now I actually get something out of it, so I enjoy going and spending time in a community, which is really fun.
So that you transitioned from Roman Catholicism to the Episcopal tradition with a little bit of a gap.
Yeah,
And that was accompanied by a move across the country.
yeah.
Yep. So just following along with what Olivia said, I grew up Catholic through high school outside of, in downtown Philadelphia and in the Philadelphia suburbs. My path to the Episcopal Church happened to really mature through just a social gathering of friends that were members at a church in Philadelphia called St. Thomas. Our two children went to the preschool, and we just got acclimated to just a great friends group of people. And what attracted us and kept us engaged at St. Thomas as a family is that we participated in church every Sunday, but it was really the events, whether they were barn sales or heading downtown, which I did on a weekly basis for a men's food shelter. And what helped me as a dad and along with my wife Leah is really making the time and effort to spend time with your family doing things that happen to be, religious. So my own path matured a great deal, and we spoke earlier in a panel that finding time in my faith and maturing from someone who was a youth through a Catholic faith through my 40s, today raising a family is grounded here at St. Luke's. So it was very natural for us to find Ashley and St. Luke's. We've been here 2 years, and participating outside of Mass has been really terrific for us.
Okay, before I tell you my journey into the church, I'm just going to go back to something that Danny said at the very beginning. She said we would have 4 generations of people from St. Luke's talking to you during this session. I want you to guess which one is the oldest generation. I grew up in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And my journey into the Episcopal Church would take much, much longer than we've got. But just very briefly, I really enjoyed growing up in the LDS Church. I had great parents. I had siblings, and some of them were great, and some of them weren't. But I went on a mission for the LDS Church. It was really when I was out on my mission that I really started questioning my faith and how I viewed God and how I viewed the Mormon Church and those sorts of things. However, it took me until I was 38 years old to leave the LDS Church. So it was a long journey to get to the point where I could leave. And then it was another 10-year journey claiming that I was an atheist and hated God. And well, how can you hate God if you're an atheist? That's hard, isn't it? But I eventually got back to the point where I realized that my life was emptier than I wanted it to be, and that's when I started looking at other churches. I looked at the Roman Catholic Church, I looked at the Lutheran Church, I looked at the Episcopal Church, a couple of others, and here I am, an Episcopalian, loving it.
Thanks, Don. Like yourself, I also came from the LDS tradition, and something I do want to touch on with Olivia, John DePaul, and yourself, Don, in a moment is that transitionary phase. I think there is a lot of intention that goes behind leaving one tradition and then choosing to join another. But before we go there, John, if I'm understanding correctly, you were born and raised in the Episcopal tradition?
That's correct.
So can you tell me a little bit about, since you're on the vestry, and that also, as those of us on bishops' committees or vestries know, is a huge time demand.
More than I expected.
Probably true for most of us too. Could you tell us, like, if there was a specific moment you know of where this tradition became something more than you just attended, but something that mattered enough to you to take on a role like in the vestry?
Yeah, absolutely. There hasn't been a moment really. It's been a process of years-long understanding, waxing and waning, and belief. And what I've really come to appreciate about the church is its fundamental dependence on rational thought as part of the discernment process that we all must go through as Christians. It's very important in the Episcopal tradition that each person who considers themselves Episcopal to be on their own journey and to follow within the framework, as we talked about, within the general framework, follow God in the way that they discern as being what works for them. And unlike what other traditions will have you believe, it's not a wishy-washy kind of, oh, anything goes kind of tradition. It's rather much more purposeful action that each of us takes within our own lives to do the work for ourselves and not pawn it off to some third party who dictates what they think. It's a very, very, very personal kind of discernment process that I've come to appreciate significantly.
Thank you for that. And kind of comparing and contrasting, right, where you've left something behind and found something new. You know, like John touched on one of those three pillars, like if you imagine the stool of the Episcopal tradition being reason or rational thought. What about the Episcopal Church brought you here after that period of, also to use one of your words, discernment, right? Like, and was there something that really just told you this matters enough to commit to?
So I'd love to maybe answer that, and then maybe I'll toss it over to
Yeah.
Olivia. I think the opposite for me. There were things being Catholic that I left outside before I walked into a church that I had strong beliefs in. I mean, I have two strong daughters, and for them to not be able to be whoever they want to be in a church, whether it's a priest or somebody lay, I'll even speak to me. I mean, I was extremely religious as a kid and even went to a seminary high school, my freshman year of high school, And I had to make a decision within my box of being Catholic that I'd rather be a dad than a priest, because priests can't marry and have children in the Catholic religion. So there were just things that I felt, and I was so involved, that I felt I had to leave part of me behind when I went into church and prayed or celebrated with people. And for me, in the Episcopal religion, I think the greatest thing about this journey for all of us is that you can be you, whoever you are and wherever you are in the path and in your faith. So I think that to me is maybe a better father, hopefully a better husband. You can ask my wife after the event. better son-in-law, if you ask my mother-in-law in the crowd. But I think that to me is the best authentic experience for me, is I can be me. You know. Follow that up.
I was pretty young when we were first going to church. My only memory is me crying outside of church on Christmas. I'd say...
What for?
I don't remember. But once we moved to Utah and I had gone to St. Luke's for the first time, that was really when I decided that I wanted to give my life to God and that I wanted to be a part of this community. And that's when I was maturing and getting to the realization that I wanted to be a part of this community, and that I really wanted to follow in something. And yeah, I'd say that.
But I'd love to follow up on that, because what's really fun is, so as a dad, sometimes you can't answer questions as a parent that you want to be. And when I was asking Olivia to lean into her faith, she jumped in. This is a documented path of her following her faith.
It's decorated.
And of course, it's decorated, knowing your style. But I think what's really cute is that where I couldn't go with some answers, she found answers in her faith.
And I find myself teaching my dad things sometimes about being Christian.
Yeah. So it's fun. Yeah.
You know, for me, well, not just for me, I think anyone who changes their religious tradition finds it to be a difficult journey. I think it's especially difficult journeying out of the LDS Church into a different faith, simply because of the nature of the grasp that the church has on you. And I suppose that's why it took me as long as it did for me to finally make up my mind and look for something different. As I mentioned, I looked at other churches besides the Episcopal Church. The thing that I like about the Episcopal Church, and I think it's most apparent in the Episcopal Church, though there are other churches that try to be like we are, and that's inclusiveness. And, you know, I am just so happy to be in a church that accepts you for who you are and allows you to become what you want to become. That is so empowering. That is so different from the religious tradition that I grew up in. And early on in my journey, I started dating my wife, and she was an Episcopalian, and maybe that had a little bit to do with it. But the first thing that we did, not our first date, but early on, was when Bishop Tanner was consecrated, and we went to the consecration. And so there I am. I'm this former LDS person, and all I've seen in clergy positions are men, and there's this woman being consecrated as the bishop of the Diocese of Utah. And we got to see that again with Bishop Phyllis. Holy cow. But it's that inclusiveness, because God, in my opinion, is the most inclusive person that there could ever be. And I think that when Jesus was living here on the earth, his example of inclusiveness was incredible. So that's what impressed me. That's why I love being an Episcopalian.
I can definitely speak to that in my transness, where it means a lot when a church is not just like tolerating your presence, but encouraging your full expression and authenticity. And along with that, like the room there is to reason, to think, and to ask challenging questions is important to me too, where of course there's doctrines and there's teachings, but there isn't this dogmatic approach so much where if you have a question or a concern about a specific topic, it can't even be touched or brought up. And all of that contributes, I think, to a community that is life-giving, which is kind of segueing into our next question about like what are the things that the church brings to your life that you seek in the church maybe to complement but not necessarily come from elsewhere in your life? Like what is something that being in St. Luke's brings to your life? We'll start with you, John.
I would say being in the Episcopal tradition is it brings a certain grounding into my life, a certain humility that it's okay to not have the answers all the time. And as a lawyer, the pressure to have all the answers is pretty all-encompassing. So, being a part of a tradition where humility is not only encouraged but expected, and that's very important. It also brings a certain degree of acceptance to my life because obviously I have physical disabilities and a lot of church traditions would not have accepted someone like me as much as the Episcopal tradition has. And so that's sort of the, I guess, community and humility are the two big things.
I would say that being a part of the St. Luke's community is really amazing because it took me a while to like really find my faith and to really start going to church and enjoying it and getting something out of it instead of just like listening to what, Ashley's saying or the bishop. And I'd say that I am a part of this group that is called Wildlife. That's for young kids. It's Wildlife and Young Life, and they do clubs and Bible studies in the morning. And that's really helped me to get a better understanding of like following in your religion, but also coming here, I get to meet so many people that are just so in touch with their religion and they're like so able to just understand the Bible and God's path that they have for them. And sometimes I think, oh, well, like, is God really real? Like, is this religion really for me? But then when something happens in my life, since I am a kid, then I just find myself going back to God and being able to talk to him 24/7. And it's really helped me to find myself.
Wow. Follow that.
Yeah, I know, right? She got me back. Two things for me. The first thing that's pretty easy to answer is, for me, St. Luke's has been just an extension of my family and a continuation of a community. And I have met some terrific people, including Don to my left, that you could just talk to about everything and anything, which has been really fun. So that's been helpful. The other thing, and I have Danny to blame, wherever Reverend Danny is, on a vitality meeting, there she's waving her hand. She and Don were visiting parishes about, people's discernment or where they were in their faith. And that's really which helped accelerate my participation at St. Luke's, but also at the diocese level. So that really has helped me a lot, and hopefully I'm contributing a lot back, which is great. But I'd say the hardest and more emotional thing for me is that similar to John's background as an attorney, being a professional in the business world my whole life, you've always been trained to have answers and evoke this sense of leadership and confidence. And I don't have any of that in my faith right now. I've joked that I've let go of the steering wheel and I'm letting Jesus navigate my path. And it's tough to admit as a 62-year-old man who's raising children and has a wife to be a part of. So I think that's the toughest thing about my religion, but here we go.
Yeah. There are so many things. That's what makes it difficult to answer the question. But first of all, it's St. Luke's is a strong community, religious community, and I'm sure your parishes and mission churches are too. But the strength of the community is one of the things that made St. Luke's an attractive move for me away from my previous tradition. The opportunity to serve. I've done things at St. Luke's and at the Diocese of Utah that I never dreamt I would be doing. And it's not about myself, it's about the interaction that I have with all of the people that I'm dealing with as I'm doing that. There's a group that we have called Bear and BS. That really means Bible study, but that group is just so. We have really incredible discussions. We read books together. We view videos together and then have deep discussions about what we've seen and heard. That for the intellectual side of me is really satisfying. I think I mentioned that I'm the head of the audiovisual ministry here. For me, that's an opportunity to serve those people who cannot attend with us in person. And we have several in our parish who can't. And every once in a while, there will be an envelope back at the audiovisual booth on the desk. Don't know where it came from, but we've gotten several of these where it just says, the only way that I have contact with St. Luke's is through your live streams. And so that's important. But the other part of that that's just extremely incredible, as we put our live streams out, they go to YouTube, they remain on YouTube. During a given live stream service, we generally have 5 or 6, sometimes up to 7 or 8 live viewers. But after it's been on YouTube for a while, we end up with 20, 30, sometimes as many as 100 views. So we're putting out into the world something that I think the world views as being valuable, and we get on YouTube, they allow people that view to make comments, and we get really positive comments from them. So it's out into the world. So that's satisfying. But for me, it's all of that. It's about being part of a community and serving that community and then outreaching into the world.
You know, it's funny, the first time I ever was here at St. Luke's was to photograph Ashley's wedding, and I had this moment where I fell straight on my butt right here, and Don captured it on camera. I don't know if it made it to YouTube. I hope not.
That's why I didn't put a stand microphone out.
I think we'll have time for, let's do one more question, and then we can open it up to our audience if there are any questions here for anyone on our panel. If there is anyone here who is unsure about church or has one foot in the door, one foot out, what is something you would want them to know?
Like I said earlier, the Episcopal tradition is perhaps uniquely rooted in American values of tolerance, understanding, discernment, rationality, that a lot of churches, especially prominent churches today, seem to shy away from. And in that way it is, in a sense, a revolutionary spirit that has deep roots in American history in a way that I think is worth embarking on.
I would say that, the path to God, it is hard. I've had times in my life where I just decided to give up and, just live life by myself, but then I just realized that I really needed God by my side. And you're not going to struggle if you have a perfect relationship with God, because everyone's relationship with God is different, whether that's not reading your Bible or it is reading your Bible. And, I've noticed that I have to consistently pray for some of the same things, because it's not like God just here's your prayer once, which is something that was kind of hard for me, because, I wanted results right away, but you have to just kind of commit to it, and eventually, something will happen in your life that really just shows that God is such an important person in your life, and that he's just a constant person to talk to and to guide you. And yeah, that's what I would say.
So my response in the leadership role as a vestry member is that if I'm hearing that there is a member who either doesn't feel that they're belonging or on their way out, I feel it's our responsibility to engage every parishioner and find a common ground or understand where they are on their path. And I think it's almost our responsibility as leadership to really find those people before they're leaving. So I think it's almost more like a congregational retention and a responsibility on our part, but to know everybody individually, regardless of how large your church is.
When I think about your question, I actually think about somebody that's maybe searching, and to a person like that, my message was actually stated over 2,000 years ago, and that's simply come and see. Come and see what we are. Come and get to know us. Come and see what it's like. Come. And I believe that people that come to the Episcopal Church, whether they want to become Episcopalians or not, I think they're changed by what they see. And that's mine.
No, thank you. I think it's important maybe the takeaway is that it's not, like we've talked a lot about humility as being something that is encouraged and welcomed. And also, what I've seen at my church at St. Mary's is this encouragement to just take things in. It's not on us to so much like find ways to keep ourselves busy or engaged as much as it is to let the liturgy of our tradition do its work in engaging us. Like you're saying, to come and see and just to witness it, and for the rest of us who are here to bring that message to people. So yes, please.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd love to follow up with Don is, which is true, is that a lot of times people think they need to be in the right spot to be accepted into the Episcopal Church. And we're all flawed, and we all have flawed paths, and you need to have enough comfort in yourself to know that you can come to Jesus or us flawed, because that's the most graceful way to find him.
Yeah, and I'd like to say that one of the main reasons that I have found like my religion is, you know, when I'd go to church and the sermon would happen, I'd kind of sit there and I'd just be like, oh gosh, this is going to be such a long like speech about God. Like,
Sorry, Ashley.
but then, wait, let me finish. But then, it was almost really after I got confirmed, I'd say that once you really just kind of sit there and listen to the sermons, you really do get something out of it. And I always feel like, oh, I don't want to wake up early to go to church. But then once I come back from church, I'm just in such a great like mindset, and I'm in such a great mood. And then I'm sure my family can tell you, I'm a lot more happy after church. But once you just sit and really listen to like what the services are about, it really does help for you to like find your path and for you to understand deeply about your religion.
Anything else we want to add before we open it up? Do we have any audience questions? Let's start with Gidge.
Olivia.
You know, I'm just so impressed by your faith and speaking out, being younger and being in school and around people. How do you live out your faith? There's so many social justice issues. There's so many new things happening in the world's complicated. Do you speak out? Do you show your faith by example? What is it that you feel you do to live out your faith?
Yeah. So last year was when I went into middle school. Middle school is not the best years of your life, especially in school, I'd say. You know, kids are starting to kind of find out who they are, and people are mean and stuff like that. I'd say that I always kind of kept an open mindset, just thinking, like, it's not even just sharing it with others, it's just like thinking to yourself, oh, like this is gonna be a good day. Like, I'm gonna make new friends, like I'm gonna share my religion with others, and having that mindset. And I wake up every morning and I pray before I go to school, like, and that's really helped. And you know, sometimes people like know, because I wear my crosses and my jewelry and stuff, that people know that I'm Christian, and I do get questions asked about it, kind of like, oh, well, like what is Easter? Like, what is Christmas? Like, I know we just think it's a holiday where like Santa comes and the Easter Bunny comes, but there's just a deeper understanding. And I've, you know, with the wildlife organization that I'm a part of, I made some of my friends actually go to camp, and so that they could, and they're not even Christian, they could be Jewish or something like that, but they came and they just really liked the community about it, and I think that's something that they were searching for, and it did help with my friends, so that they did want to come, and they did feel like they found something. But yeah, that's what I would say to that question. Thank you.
And I saw a question over here from the lady in the hat.
Well, I was kind of going the same direction, Olivia. Is there something that specifically St. Luke's can do to attract more young people that we're not doing now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say, Yeah, no, it's okay. We do sometimes go during the sermons and with some of the youth groups, and we go and into the like rooms near the nursery and stuff, and we do talk for like kind of the rest of church till communion, and it's just we kind of think about like stuff that maybe we talked about in church or we want to bring up in the Bible or a story or something to share. And the other thing that we do is sometimes we do kids sermons before like our main sermon, where we sit and the kids usually gather right here, and we just talk about a story usually before, and we give examples, and it really makes the kids like excited about their faith. And I think that if we just did more of that, and we just made it so that every age of the community has a chance of their religion and has a chance to experience like all the wonders of God and following in Jesus. I think that would be good.
And just to add to that, I'm not as young as Olivia, but I have a millennial and sort of live my life as a young person. I think that one of the big things that we can do as a community is to lean in to what we believe in, which is, the 3 pillars that you mentioned, with the forthrightness that our message deserves, because Christianity is all about love and loving God and loving your neighbor, accepting the fundamental dignity of every human being, not just tolerating. And that message deserves to be spread, because it's not all of the religious, all of the outwardly religious traditions rely on being outwardly intolerant of certain kinds of people. And that's not a Christian message. To bring in more people, we need to demonstrate that we accept them.
Well said. I think we are just about at time, so please join me in thanking our amazing panelists for speaking with us today.
And I'll say this, Olivia, you're amazing.
That's great. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Natalie, that was great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Natalie, the one that was in. Yeah. No.
Well, you can
Natalie goes to St.
So
Mary's.
well, didn't she?
How'd you do? Which one?
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, John. You did great. Yeah, just a minute.
Yes.
I'll tell you about a book written by the president of New York University
Okay.
called Baseball as a Road to God.
Really? I've not heard of that book.
It's an older book.
Okay.
He describes his transition as a Giants
Quick announcement.
fan.
For those of you who want to attend the How Do Episcopalians Pray workshop, that will be right here in the chapel space. And for those of you who are attending Stewardship as a Spiritual Practice, it will be in the classroom in the back. Thank you.
was good.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Appreciate that.